UFC Qatar changed everything in terms of making the title picture clear for one division, that is the lightweight division, and making the title picture somewhat, I would say, 90% clear for another division, that is welterweight division. Now, in the lightweight division, Arman, with his victory over Dan Hooker, has to become the clear number one contender right now. Because apart from him, you have Justin Gaethje, you have Paddy Pimblett, and you have Max Holloway. Now let's look at Justin Gaethje's situation and his, I would say, his case for becoming the number one contender. I was in favor of Justin Gaethje becoming the number one contender, but since then he has gone sort of on a rant that if UFC doesn't give him the title shot, he's going to retire, and that doesn't sit well with Dana White. And you're in a business, you can't just upset people who run the business. So he himself has lowered his chances, lowered his case of getting a title shot against Ilia Topuria, and I agree with him. He shouldn't have taken the Max Holloway fight firstly, and when he took the Max Holloway fight, lost it. Then when coming back, he was going to face Dan Hooker, who he would have probably defeated and would have got the title shot if he would have defeated Dan Hooker. But he did not. He faced Rafael Fiziev in a rematch, and yes, he got the decision victory over Rafael Fiziev. But still, Ilia's style with Justin Gaethje's style, it kind of clashes. Justin Gaethje doesn't really pose a threat that Ilia Topuria hasn't seen, and might be that Justin Gaethje gets the better of Ilia Topuria, but considering the run Topuria has been on, it's very, very unlikely that Justin actually beats him in a decision or actually knocks Ilia Topuria out, because Justin Gaethje, while has knocked down people and also knocked out people, I don't see him knocking out Ilia Topuria, because I see Ilia catching him first and Ilia dropping him. And after the Max Holloway knockout, it's going to be difficult for Justin's chin to hold up against Ilia's power. Then you have Paddy Pimblett, whose case is weaker than Justin Gaethje. He's never faced an opponent higher than Michael Chandler, who was 7th or 8th ranked when he faced him. And he's never faced an opponent in the top 5 or in the elite of the division. So, if he's an untested fighter in the elite of the division, why do you give him a title shot against Ilia Topuria? Okay, he has a wrestling prowess, he does have a good chin, but is he really going to go up against Ilia Topuria and submit Ilia Topuria, a thing that even Charles Oliveira couldn't do? Or is he going to knock Ilia Topuria out? Because Paddy Pimblett has not really knocked out people. He did TKO Michael Chandler, but it was via ground and pound. He has submitted people. I don't know if he's knocked out people, but the people in the lower division, lower ranking of the division don't count really as worthy opponents. So when he got into the rankings, when he faced ranked opponents, he's never really knocked people out with his power. He's rather submitted them, rather won by decision, or rather won by ground TKO. And the third one who can probably face Ilia Topuria was Max Holloway. But Max Holloway needs another victory in the lightweight division. Defeating Dustin Poirier, who is on his way out, doesn't get him a title shot. So there's only one contender who proved at UFC Qatar that he's way above all three of these people. He is Arman Tsarukyan. Arman Tsarukyan has a great wrestling game. He showed that against Charles Oliveira as well. Unfortunately, he had to pull out of his fight against Islam Makhachev. That would have been a really interesting fight at the start of the year. But unfortunately, his back gave out and he couldn't face Islam Makhachev. But still, his case is the strongest right now. He has a game which can pose a threat to Ilia Topuria, because his wrestling is not just good, it's really good. It's almost below Islam's level if I were to match his wrestling style to others in the division. And he has a good striking game. It's not just wrestling heavy. You could see that against Dan Hooker, he wasn't just shooting takedowns, he was standing up against Dan Hooker and he was actually doing quite a lot of damage to Dan Hooker. And when he got the takedown, the second takedown was absolutely impressive. When he got that takedown, he worked his way through to a submission. It wasn't just keeping your opponent down, holding him for the rest of the round. He works towards submissions or he works towards ground and pound. You saw that against Charles Oliveira, that he does do damage on the ground. So it will be interesting to see him against Ilia Topuria, whether he could stand up with Topuria, whether he could take Topuria down, keep him there, do some ground and pound, at least some challenge to Ilia Topuria, right? We want a fight. We don't want Paddy Pimblett going up against Ilia Topuria because they have bad blood and it will be interesting. It will be the most sellable fight. No, come on, let's keep the best versus best, and it's Arman Sarukian in the lightweight division right now. In welterweight, Ian Gary did defeat Belal Muhammad. We had two sensational performances at UFC 322 where Carlos Prates knocked out Leon Edwards, Michael Morales knocked out Sean Brady, and Michael Morales has knocked out Gilbert Burns in the first round as well in his last fight before facing Sean Brady. So he has been on a tear in terms of knockout. Carlos Prates, we all know, is an exciting fighter. He makes the fights exciting. Even his fight against Ian Gary that he lost was a really, really good battle. It wasn't a boring affair. So in that terms, he makes his case in terms of making an exciting fight against Islam Makhachev. But he has to work on his wrestling. Leon Edwards took him down. Ian Gary did try to take him down but couldn't. He probably landed one takedown on Carlos Prates, but that's because Ian Gary wasn't actively trying to wrestle Carlos Prates. He was using wrestling as a tool to set up shots, to keep Carlos Prates guessing, to stop his forward momentum. And if you're being taken down by Leon Edwards fairly easily, it's going to be difficult against Islam Makhachev, who kept JDM down for close to around 20 minutes in their fight. So Carlos Prates going up against Islam Makhachev, I still don't think is a like for like match. He needs to do something. He needs to probably face a wrestler again, because the last time he faced somebody who knew how to wrestle, or who could use wrestling to set up or to better his stand-up game, he lost. So if he's learned from that experience, he probably needs to go up against a wrestler. Maybe Shavkat Rakhmonov is a good matchup for Carlos Prates to build his case. Then comes Michael Morales. And okay, first let's touch upon Ian Gary. Ian Gary has been on a consistent run before he met Shavkat Rakhmonov, and even that fight was not a very close affair, but was a close affair in terms of him not being finished by Shavkat Rakhmonov. Shavkat Rakhmonov had finished all of his opponents before facing Ian Gary, and Ian Gary made it a competitive fight. Maybe Shavkat was injured, that's why he couldn't finish Ian Gary, but the fact remains that Ian Gary is the only fighter that Shavkat did not finish. So, and after that, Ian Gary has put on impressive performances against Carlos Prates, against Belal Muhammad also. It was very, very impressive. He did not let Belal Muhammad take him down. His foot movement, his head movement, his striking was above Belal, and he was doing more damage. It was close, all the rounds were close, but I had Ian Gary winning in all these rounds. It was a close fight, but Ian Gary was winning every round, and that's why two judges scored at 30-27 as well, and one judge scored at 29-28. Maybe the second round going to Belal Muhammad. But it was an impressive performance by Ian Gary, but still, Belal wasn't able to take JDM down. He wasn't able to take JDM down effectively. He was able to take him down, I think, twice or thrice in the 4th round and the 5th round. But still, it wasn't effective enough. Now against Ian Gary, he wasn't able to secure a takedown. But compare that to Islam Makhachev. Islam Makhachev was able to take him down at will. And his technique, I think the first takedown that Islam did against in his fight against JDM, was he grabbed a single leg, he made space, he twisted a single leg to the left side, he made space and he swooped his left leg. And that's how he was able to secure takedowns. Islam just has more ways to take you down. And I don't know if Ian Gary can hold up against Islam Makhachev. He did fairly well against Shavkat Rakhmonov, but Rakhmonov is more of a clincher. He clinches you against the cage, and in that clinch, he, has effective shots, sets up submissions. That's his game. It's not takedown heavy, as Islam Makhachev is. And while Ian Gary is well-rounded, yes, he does make a compelling case after defeating Belal Muhammad. But I would still say Michael Morales is more interesting of a prospect to Islam Makhachev. Michael Morales is an unknown fighter, right? He knocks people out in the first round, but we still don't know his true abilities. Whether he is very good on the ground because he has a judo background, he has a wrestling background. It's just that his striking is so good that he hasn't had to use his wrestling. That's what his coaches tell us, that's what many experts tell us. So why not give Michael Morales the nod before Ian Gary? Now, Michael Morales also took out a contender, Sean Brady, who was an interesting prospect for Islam Makhachev because he was a wrestler. So wrestler going up against wrestler in the welterweight, a bigger wrestler than the likes that he's faced in lightweight, was an interesting prospect. But now that Michael Morales has defeated him, knocked him out in the first round, this will be interesting because now Islam has to deal with power of Michael Morales, the reach of Michael Morales. It will be interesting to see whether Islam crosses the void, takes Michael Morales down, or does he not? Does he stay standing up against Michael Morales and deals with his power in an interesting way? It's more interesting than Ian Gary facing Islam because I think Islam can solve Ian Gary. We saw Shavkat solving Ian Gary's puzzle. And I think Islam will find a way against Ian Gary, a way to take him down more effectively. Even if he doesn't take him down, a way to stand up with him and get effective shots at Ian Gary. So I think, in terms of making it interesting and in terms of even the caliber, it's Michael Morales over here. I know I said Paddy Pimblett versus Ilia is interesting. You shouldn't make a fight just because it's interesting. But over here, it's interesting and also because it's a style that will be new to even Islam because he's not really faced power punches, right? He has not faced them in lightweight as well. Before Ilia coming to the lightweight division, there weren't really, power punchers who would knock you out with one punch. Justin Gaethje isn't really that kind of a fighter, and Islam hasn't faced Justin Gaethje as well. Dustin Poirier wasn't that kind of fighter. So it'll be interesting to see how Islam deals with Morales, how he deals with his reach, how he deals with his power. Will he take him down? And if he takes him down, does Morales have a really good wrestling base? So in welterweight, it's kind of touch and go with Ian Gary and Morales making very strong cases. But I would say Morales versus Islam is a better fight at welterweight. At lightweight, it's crystal clear. It needs to be Arman Sarukian versus Ilia Topuria, maybe in the January card.